What we did was we pulled this out. It was an old indicator light. It wasn't being used, and it was right here. So we can put the cable through a hole without having to make another hole in the boat. Long term, we need to put a rubber ring in there for when we do this, because while this stuff here will keep it from chafing for the moment, it will eventually chafe it. And our solar controller, we have a Victron, is there on the wall, forward wall, so that's what we're using. Got these sets of flexible solar panels. Like you said, we're running the cable through the area where an old indicator light used to be. I don't know how we're going to set up all the wires, either in series or in parallel, but we're going to get all the solar panels hooked up. Now you just need to wire tie it up so it doesn't become a mess in there. Okay, now we're trying to tie the wire up with a wire tie. We don't have the solar panels up all the time. We're just going to set them out on the seat for the moment. But what I would like to do is build a framework so we can hang them on the side of the aft rail when we're in port. That's one of our new projects to complete, is to build something we can keep them up with. And after a discussion with Clark, it is determined that one of the things we also need to do is just use hard solar panels and make a shell and make it like a frame for the hard solar panels. Yeah, the newer solar panels that aren't flexible are much more efficient. If we can do that, then we don't have to run the generators much. We just need some auxiliary power. We just keep our lights on at night, keep our refrigeration going. The only time we really need the generator is to run the stove, which is 240. Anyway, so we're going to keep hooking these up, and then we're going to start looking for newer panels and a framework. These are our solar cables. They're a standard connection. It allows me to hook up the two panels in parallel. So I hook one panel to these two, and I hook another panel to those two. And that keeps the solar panels in parallel, so they don't interfere with one another. But you can mix them in series and parallel for 24 volt or 48 volts. In this case, we're just going to use the 12 volts, and I'm going to hook the two panels up in parallel with one another. We have a few other panels which we might play with in a little bit, but they're old and broken, and I don't know how well they work. The nice thing about these connectors is you can't put them in backwards. They only fit one way. There's positive and a negative side, and they're opposites, so you can't hook them up backwards. We have the Victron Smart Bluetooth dongle, so we can connect to our Victron from my cell phone, and we haven't had it hooked up for a while, so it had to update, went to version 2.5, but there we go. We can see what it's doing. It's a little cloudy out, so we're not producing a whole lot of voltage just yet, but we know it's working. So now we can look at trying to get these other old panels hooked in and see if we can get anything out of them. They're in pretty bad shape, honestly. I forgot why and know why it's not producing any wattage. We have it hooked into the secondary. There we go. We just turned the switch on. It was hooked into the secondary refrigeration circuit. That's the circuit breaker that we use to turn it on and off. And we didn't have it hooked in. Now we do. I'm sorry, we didn't have it switched on. You're correct. So now we're getting a whole 5 watts. It's a cloudy day. Well, we got the solar panels put up. We're making about 500 to 550 watt hours a day. It's not very much, but we only have really 4 panels. We have 4 little panels and 2 big panels. I guess that's 6, but it's effectively 4 100-watt panels. The panels we have are flexible panels, so we had to find a way to tie them to the rail where the sun would stay on them, but not put them up permanently. And we figured out a way to do that so that they'll sit nicely. I'll show you that in a minute. So let's go, I'll show you. So these down here, these are our good panels, and they're producing very, very well, but they're flexible. All we did was tie them to the top rail and then let them sit on this rail, and that holds them up really nice. They're still flexible, but they're holding in place really well. They're completely out of the way of the boom and things like that, so nothing's shining on them, and they're making good power. These are some that we just picked up out of the garbage in Marathon, and they're not in very good shape. As you can see, there's cracks in them and stuff, but they're producing probably about maybe 50% of what you would expect a panel of this size to produce. So hey, they were free and they were in the garbage. I'm not going to complain. We also got some folding panels. They're not really boat panels. They're like for setting up at a park or going camping with. There are emergency panels. We'll set them up if we have to leave the boat for something. We've got them in parallel and series. So we're producing 48 bolts, and we've got them on each side.
To get this to work, we had to have this cover up first. And to get the cover up was another challenge altogether. We had to play musical chairs with our halyards. So we have a wire halyard holding up the front cover. We have our spare halyard holding up the crane. Normally we'd use the topping lift.
Right. And the topping lift is holding up the aft panel that we had here.
While our main halyard is doing the job of the topping lift.
It'll take us a couple of days to get the boat put back together for sailing. Hey folks, like, subscribe, tell your friends. It really does help, and it helps the channel grow. It helps us get higher in the search engines. And if you do feel like you can, please donate and help us out on the journey and help us restore this boat. We have a Patreon link. We also have a PayPal link on our website. So please help us out. And by the way, we did something for Rum Ration. It's in one of the videos that we just put up a little bit ago. Please help Rum Ration out. We're trying to do a fundraiser to help them stabilize before they lose their boat. Thank you.